So council's just returning from a closed session, and coming out of that session, we just want to report back that council directed staff to proceed with a land disposition in the industrial park. That was as per our session. It did open up the meeting at 6 o'clock, and there was no items of pecuniary interest. So I would like to acknowledge that I am an ally of Indigenous peoples. The township of Lucan Biddulph is located on the treaty and traditional territory and ancestral lands of many Indigenous peoples and is covered by several Upper Canada treaties. We recognize and celebrate the contributions of Indigenous communities in our shared cultural heritage. Lucan Biddulph is now home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples and communities that have a unique relationship with the land and its resources and continue to shape the history and economy of our township. We recognize the unique role Indigenous communities have in the development of our communities. The contribution from Indigenous communities ensure the sharing of unique perspectives and traditional knowledge. The township recognizes the importance of consulting with our Indigenous neighbors and communities in an effort to build constructive, cooperative relationships through meaningful engagement to inform our decision-making and build partnerships. We acknowledge historic and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we affirm our commitment to honoring Indigenous voices, nations, and cultures, and to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. So since our last meeting, I had the opportunity to be with the Lions Club as they celebrated 75 years as a registered Lions Club. And it was a really fun evening. It was a great turnout. I think it was sold out, but it really was a wonderful evening. To be able to celebrate all that the Lions Club has done, not only for our municipality, but for communities and organizations beyond our municipal borders, was a moment of pride for all of us in attendance. Recognizing the club's contributions to community allowed me to reflect on the importance of community service and volunteering. In our country, more than 56% of our population volunteer. Volunteering does make a difference. Society has benefited from the generosity of volunteers of all ages. And globally, more than 1.5 million nonprofit organizations and charities benefit as a result of volunteer work. I couldn't even begin to think of what the estimated economic value of volunteering would be. And when I think of what Lucan Biddulph relies on for volunteering and to put a cost on that, well, I certainly can't do that. Volunteering is a commitment to share your time to make life better for those around you. Sometimes we see the results in a tangible way, but often the willingness to volunteer makes an impact in a quiet way, as the greatest difference made in volunteering is how individuals have been touched by that generosity. So even though it was the Lions Club, I want to thank the Lions Club for all that they've done, but also I want to take the opportunity to thank all the volunteer organizations in our community that make Lucan Biddulph the community that it is. So we do not have any public meetings and no delegations. So we're right into the minutes of September 19th. And if those minutes have, you've all had a chance to look at them, and if there's no errors or omissions or edits, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to approve those as circulated. Councillor Westman and Councillor Hodgins, all in favor, and that's carried. Business arising from the minutes. I think the only thing that was added, and maybe that was even added to at the last one, was the postage costs for budget. Was there anything council wanted to add to business arising from our last meeting? Okay, seeing none, then we'll go right into the correspondence. Nothing has been pulled by staff, but I'm asking council, are there any items of correspondence that we've received in the last 2 weeks that you would like some clarification or you have questions on? Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have one. It's the first one, which is the letter from a resident with respect to Sainsbury Line traffic. both vehicle traffic and pedestrian traffic. And I just was asked if I could ask Jeff, on understanding that it's a county road as well. I'm just wondering what plan or anything that we have in place with respect to pedestrian safety and what partnerships we have with the county to ensure that safety.
Yeah, and Madam Mayor, I did reach out to the county. I did receive a copy of this letter. And I have reached out to the county, and we are looking at a number of options to try and see if we can improve some safety feature for pedestrians and bicyclists and people using that area for activity. It is a county road, so we are limited to the traffic calming measures that are available to us. And it ultimately comes back to a county decision on what gets done there. But I'm certainly looking at some options to try and incorporate something with the county to promote safer activity up there for sure. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Westman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And further to that, this has been something I've observed for a number of years now, that it's a simple thing. When pedestrians are walking on a road with no sidewalk, they're expected to walk facing traffic, wear bright colors at night, that kind of thing. I've been noticing it, and I've even stopped and said, hey, be careful, make sure you're wearing reflective, whatever. But people are walking with their back to traffic, and they're walking without, with jet black clothing on at night. And that there's been a number of times I've had to go, whoa, and move out of the way. So I'm wondering if we could do some public education on road safety as a starter, just to say, let's reach out to the public and say, just while you're out walking in our community, these are a few things you need to know. So if you could, thank you.
I see a nod from our communications officer. So are there any other items that council would like to speak to? So I just have two. One, I just want to highlight the highlights from the last Middlesex County Council meeting. We had a guest join us, a delegation from the Namarin Friendship Center to talk about truth and reconciliation. I understand that there might be some technical issues with the YouTube video, but I would encourage you to take the 15, I guess, well, actually, it was probably more like 20, 25 minutes that he spoke to us about, but take the 20, 25 minutes to at least listen to what he had to say. I think it speaks to a lot of the meaning behind reconciliation, why it's so important that communities and municipalities play a part in reconciliation. And so I would encourage anybody, any of our residents that are watching, but I would really say to council to take the time to watch it. It was a very impactful personal story that Brian Hill shared with us. The other one I wanted to ask council or staff about. So there's the notice that for the Roma conference, which will be held in January, and the early bird price is out there. But I'm wondering if staff can maybe put together a list or a staff report of the conferences that we can choose from in the coming year, and get a sense of who's going to go, because I think that there will be quite a cost to them in this year. I know that Good Roads, for which I sit on the board, there's an increase there, and I imagine there's going to be an increase in all. And I'd like to get a sense of who's going and understanding from a budget perspective what we can be considering.
Madam Mayor, certainly we can do that. And I think it's a great idea. It does give all the members of council a chance to see all the possible conferences. Obviously, we can't go to everything, but that way, if you've got them all in front of you, then you can sort of pick and choose, and we can balance things out. So we can certainly do that.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Any other items that council want to speak to? Okay, with that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive those items for information, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Reagan. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. On to committee reports for Blue Water.
Yeah, we had a meeting, just a very short meeting. There was really nothing new other than drivers continue to be a little bit of an issue. And I think I said that at the last meeting that whatever time that typically is maybe picked up in the community, it may change depending on drivers and routes and coming later than normal. I guess just want to make that comment again.
Thank you for that. Any questions for Dave or the deputy mayor on that? Okay, CEDC.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have a brief report for our Wednesday, September the 27th meeting. Their minutes will be attached the next meeting. We talked about the environics data, the executive summary that we'd asked for. That was discussed, and there's a report a little bit later. I think it's 12.7 on that this evening. We had a discussion about the street pole banner ideas for discussion. Lively discussion. We're going to have some actual mock-ups made for our next meeting later this month. And we're going to have the committee, I think, make some decisions on those and some recommendations. There was a notice just about community improvement plan budget update. There's still some funds available, and I believe Lisa can correct me. People can still apply for those as long as there's funds available. Talked about the mayor's breakfast, and we're looking for some ideas, Your Worship, for guest speakers. And I think we have one lined up already, I believe. Two, I stand corrected. And we also had an under new business really quickly. There was a downtown business discussion. We are going to have a delegation of 3 businesses in our community that will be attending our next meeting, which is October 25th. That's all I have on that, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Councillor Regan.
You're welcome.
Any questions or comments on that? Okay, seeing none. Lake Huron, we meet on Thursday, so I will report back at the next meeting. Nothing from fire boards, ABCA, Councillor.
Yes, thank you. We did meet on September 21st. So quick update on a couple of things. Nearly all municipalities have entered into those cost apportioning agreements. One that did not was Perth South. But their apportionment is very, very minor for the Asaba Bayfield Conservation Authority. It represents 0.2%, equivalent of $400. But luckily all the other municipalities have participated in that, so that's good. The ABCA is continuing to leverage federal and provincial grant funding for several environmental projects throughout the watershed to improve the health of the watershed. There was a report about trails within the Park Hill Conservation Area and expanding and improving trail networks there. And lastly, there was a fantastic community effort which fundraised $10,500 in a very short amount of time for a new kayak launch at the Morrison Dam. And it just goes to show the great things that communities can do when they work together. And it was Exeter resident Susan Riddell who spearheaded that. So a great initiative and great to see the community come together for that project.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions on that? Okay, Parks and Recreation.
Don't have anything for this evening, but I will for next council meeting. Our next meeting is October 26th.
Great, thank you. It's not in the list, but trails. Was there a trails meeting? Councillor West?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. We held our meeting last week and we did a field trip. We went out to the Campanelli area there where the trails are, beautiful trails. I highly recommend anybody in the area take a walk down there. It's amazing. The stormwater management ponds look amazing. We did walk up and around the new soccer complex and looked at where we can put trails there and looking to the future where development's going to be, and we can link some trails up with Sainsbury and the new developments over there. So lots of great ideas, and the mosquitoes were well fed. So, and we did a little bit of a through the rough hike, and it was pretty good. So we got to learn an awful lot, and thank Abby and Paul for taking us out there. That was great. Thanks.
Okay, that's great. So you had to have your counselor hat as well as your scout hat on then, I guess, with the mosquitoes.
Well, I will say that one of us was prepared. I brought out a big can of bug spray and everybody got to use it. It was good.
That's good. Thank you. Any questions on trails? Okay, thank you very much. On to staff report, Ron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick bit of an activity report on what's been happening in our department. There's a number of meetings and I won't go through every one, but I'll touch on a highlight of a few. The September 7th, the county CAOs finally got together. We've got 3 new members. Carolyn Tripp is the new CAO from North Middlesex. David Barrick is the new CAO for Thames Center, and Tricia McGibbon is the new CAO for Strathroy Caradoc. So that's quite a change in that group. We're not a large group, so 3 new ones is quite a change, but it was nice to finally put a face to the name. And so we look forward to working with them in the future. September 12th, the meeting with Bear Integrated, just a bit of an update on that one. I did just this evening, just before the meeting, I received the second draft version of the fire services master plan. So the next step is a formal meeting between the consultant and both fire chiefs, as well as the chairs of both of the respective fire boards. So hopefully we can get a meeting. Towards the end of next week, I'm hoping. That depends on everybody's availability, of course. Okay, so moving on, the pay equity and compensation review, just a bit of an update. Marianne Love, the consultant, is continuing her work. She's hoping to be able to present her report to council at the October 17th. Worst case scenario, November 7th. I think she's on course to present at the next council meeting 2 weeks from tonight. And then finally, the report of the Interior Housing Affordability Task Force. There was an item of correspondence in the last council meeting, and that was a personal invitation to the mayor of every community to more or less list their top 5 issues arising from the 74 recommendations contained in the Interior Housing Affordability Task Force. So I've been working with the mayor on getting that list together. Those responses are to be submitted to the minister by October 16th. Later this month. So and that's all I had.
Hey, thank you very much for that, Ron. Questions for Ron at this time? Councillor Reagan.
I just have 2, Madam Mayor, just really quickly. Ron, for the fire services master plan, their second draft being reviewed by fire chief and chairs, does that also include members?
I will have to converse with the mayor to find out, because I think the thought there is we want the technical review by the chiefs to be done first,
Okay, fair enough.
because there may still need to be changes before it becomes more public. So I think, and in fairness, we met with the chiefs and the chairs of both committees at the start of the process, and we said we would do this on a go forward.
All right, okay, so I only ask because I'm on the board. So, and the second question is, you're meeting with Thames Valley about Wilberforce, which is an issue that I brought up before. I'm just wondering how that went.
Well, my personal opinion, I think it went fairly well. We brought up some issues, and some issues are still, it's going to be a long process, but I think they're working towards a solution, and I got my finger. We all have our fingers crossed that we can get to where we need to go. I don't know if the members of council saw it, but it was on the Thames Valley District School Board meeting. So we are, I think, number 2 in their list of their wish list of new facilities. So
I think in the next meeting, Tina will include some correspondence that we drafted in support of some things that came out of that meeting. So, okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is I guess a new style of report, these activity reports. So my first question is are we going to see these on a regular basis?
yes, I think we during our last staff meeting, we have agenda meetings, and I think this is a more organized way to do things than verbal, because verbal has a tendency to get lost unless you're actually watching the video. So this way, there's a hard copy record, and if we, a year from now, if we think, geez, I thought I said something at a meeting, or we had dealt with that, you can do a word search and you can actually find it. So this is our aim on a go forward basis, to have this in lieu of verbal reports. We're gonna try.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. I appreciate the report and the information. And looking forward to those in the future. One other question with respect to the pay equity and compensation review. I just wanted to confirm whether this includes council or if this is just staff. Seeing that one of our peers is doing a similar review for their council right now.
So at this stage, this is just the staff salary grade. It doesn't include council. We didn't budget for that. We can do that, I guess, if council wishes. That might have to be done next year, but.
I'm just thinking, I guess, efficiency wise, if it's going to be a review that's going to be done, I'm not sure if it's the same consultant that does that. But to me, that would make sense to do both at the same time, but I will leave that with staff.
Yeah, maybe Mayor, what I can do is I can certainly ask the consultant if that's something that she does, or does she only deal with staff?
I think she did the council's review the last time we did it, right? We did it
I want to see.
prior to. Did we do it prior to the 2022 election or? And I think it has been a while since it's been done.
2018, maybe?
Yeah, I think it has been a while since it's been done, so. It would be probably prudent to do that. Do you have anything else?
No,
Councillor
that's all.
Hodgins?
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ron at this time? Okay. No building. Oh, Tina, did you have anything? Sorry. Thank you. I do need a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information, please. Councillor Regan and Councillor Hodgins, all in favor? That's carried. Tina, did you have anything?
No, thank you.
Okay, no building, so we'll move right on to finance. Catherine.
Thank you. I have a number of reports tonight. My first report, number 11, is in regards to amending the tax rate bylaw to include it's the new multi-residential rate, but it's not new. It's just the property tax class. This came to light when we received some supplementals from MPAC and they put a property in that class, and we noticed we did not have that in our bylaw for the tax rate. So we need to amend it so that we can process those supplementals. Just I gave some bit of background on that, where the new multi-res tax code came from, and it was been around for a while, but it's had some changes back in 2017 where they the province legislated that the rate would be the same as residential properties, and that a property in the new multi-res would stay in there for 35 years. And the county sets our tax ratios, and in their bylaw this year, they set it at 1, which is the same as residential. So that's really all this report is about, is to talk about the change in the bylaw that I think is later.
Okay, questions on that? Okay, then can I get a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information, and that the amended bylaw be adopted, and that of course will be later in the evening. Mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Westman, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, your next one, Catherine.
Okay, the next one is regarding the budget survey results. So earlier this year, we put out a engagement survey with the residents, and we've done that for 3 years now. And this year we only received 68 responses. We're down quite a bit from last year and the previous year, which is too bad, but maybe for next year we'll have a look at, maybe there's different ways we can reach out or maybe change our survey in some way. But we'll look at that last year. But for these results, we got about 68, which is like less than 1% of our population. So anyway, there's some good points in there to consider. And as we put together the budget, we'll review those comments and where people feel they're getting good value for services or where improvements can be made or suggestions where possible. Of course, there's always comments about things that are beyond our control. And I've listed that there. So as I said, staff will look at the information and as we create the 2024 budget. And we appreciate anyone that did take the time to fill that out. It's worthwhile seeing all that. And I'm sure people making comments, I'm sure there's the same comments maybe in their own circles. So maybe this does extend more than for 68 people. And then the results will be posted on our website as well. I'm assuming that's okay. Council says no, then that's okay. But that's just for your information at this point.
Okay, thank you for that, Catherine. Questions or comments on this one? Deputy Mayor Manders.
Yeah, I agree. It was disappointing with the amount of people. I don't know if changing the questions or that would matter, maybe how the engagement is or trying to, I don't know what the answer is, but anyways, it is disappointing. Also, I think it's number 13, which one issue or project would you like to see addressed or included in the 2024 budget? I'm not interested in censoring anybody, but what some of the, and I don't want to debate the numbers I'm going to say, but like 10, 11, it'd be for Catherine to look at 10, 11, 46, 38, 47. I would say it has nothing to do with that. It's just remarks or questions, and you're not, in your survey, you're not asking for questions. Those are ones that I just don't feel add any value and really should be removed. It's unfortunate that actually they're part of our community in my mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the budget survey? Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just getting back to, I guess, the limited participation. Do we have any ideas why the numbers were down so much from previous years, and ideas for improving that moving forward?
I'm not sure. I think when I asked Lisa, she said that similar response rates for other surveys is similar. We did put it on social media, and then we had it on there, and we had a few responses, and then we decided to put it on again as one last call for a few more weeks. So maybe they need to, we'll look at different ways. Maybe we can add it to the newsletter, or say it's out, but then maybe in a couple weeks, like kind of remind people to do it and have a reposting on the website or put it forefront on the website and on social media. Maybe there's more other platforms. And then if we get, I guess if we have an app maybe coming, that could also be a way to communicate as well. But we'll look at ways to maybe improve that. If there's any suggestions, we'll take them for sure.
I know the city of London, like they take the survey to the people, right? Like they set up in malls, and I mean, there's obviously a cost to that, taking staff out of the office, but there might be merit in doing that, just putting it out where people are, right? Maybe it doesn't, it's so strange how the algorithms on social media work. And, you can be on social media every day and, oh, I didn't see it, so I think we're going to have to not always count on social media being the answer. I think this app should be able to help, but I think there are other ways that we can try to take it to the people. So did you have anything else, Councillor Hodgins?
Just adding to your comments, maybe an opportunity. We do have that newsletter that goes out, the one pager. Maybe the backside of it is dedicated to a little form that could be filled out and dropped in a drop box at the community center or the office. That's just an idea off the top of my head. But just a comment, I appreciate the feedback for those that did submit it. And I do like the question for which project I like to see. I like to see those ideas and what people see as priority projects. Although I do agree with the comments from the deputy mayor, there are some comments that aren't really applicable, but there are a lot of good ideas in there as well. And I'd encourage everyone to review those if they haven't already. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? I think too, you incentivize people. Didn't we do a There was one survey we did a couple years ago for something. Was it for the community engagement? And I think it was just a gift certificate to something, and we got tons of responses. So I think if you put a prize, dangle something in front of people. No, I would just echo the comments that my colleagues said on the survey. It is disappointing. You know, you try to make it as easy for people to participate. And then when they don't, it can be a little bit deflating, but we'll take the comments and we'll run with them for there. So thank you very much for that, Catherine. With that, if there's no other comments, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to accept that report for information, please. Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Westman. All in favor? And that's carried. Your next report, Catherine.
Okay, our next report is regarding the financing of the Community Center Phase 2 project. Basically, that project was substantially complete at the end of June. So now with the timing, we need to decide and finalize a debenture for portion of that project. And with the final numbers and where we're sitting, we did borrow, we did an advance on our loan last year for $2 million. And my suggestion is to just convert that into the debenture, the long-term loan. And then, but my real ask at this, for this report, to cover the balance of the shortfall and some overages of costs, is to increase the commitment that council made to withdraw from the building reserve of 1.5 million to be around 1.8, depending on where those shortfalls come in, like from the fundraising or the additional costs, which should be minimal based on my calculations. And then if since fundraising is still ongoing, as we collect more fundraising dollars, they'll just go right back into the reserve. And my calculations on the building reserve at this point, it would more than be able to cover that additional approximately $300,000 and until we get fundraising dollars or to cover some of that as well. So that's really my ask in this report, is to increase the amount we withdraw from reserves for this project. And the sidebar being that we're going to enter in the debenture for the $2 million. That's my thoughts.
Okay, thank you for that, Catherine. Questions? Deputy Mayor Manders.
So what, our building reserve, what is it at then?
After I take into consideration this 1.8, we'll have at the end of the year roughly $1 million left.
1 million left. I was in today's interest rates and being able to take advantage of a 25-year loan. I was thinking, what do we do? Can you change the loan to 2.3 if we didn't want to do this? Is that an option? At that everything the same or no?
Sorry, at this point, I think I can still change the amount. I've started conversations with IO, but we have not signed any documents at this point.
My concern, I was just thinking maybe keeping the reserves a little higher and, yeah, my concern is at budget time, we say we've depleted the reserve and then, which again, the reserve is there to use, but it's, it's a very long-term 25-year loan, which again, nobody usually has access to that. So that was only comment if I don't know what staff thinks of that or rest of council, would we do the 2.3 and leave it at 1.5.
And just to confirm, you said if you took the 1.8 out, we'd be left still with about $1 million.
Yeah, that's my calculations about that. And then I don't know what future projects there are, but we have a lot of new buildings. Unless we're going to add buildings, then we still do commit a good amount of money each year in reserves from the levy to that one. So that's taking that into consideration as well. So we'll build it back up pretty quickly. One thing with borrowing, you want to be careful not to extend too much with our annual repayment limit, what we're allowed to borrow. So I'm trying to be a bit conservative as well and borrow what we need, keeping in mind future projects that may hinder that in a big way, and I just don't want to hinder that too much, but we don't know what kind of exactly. So, well, I've talked about that before regarding the wastewater treatment plant. If there's no grant funding, that could really use up any room left we have in our borrowing limit without having to go for appeal for more. That's my.
Any follow-up? Okay, any other questions or comments? Councillor Hodgins?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just gonna comment, I think it's great how much money was fundraised, the 451,000. That's fantastic to see, to offset those costs from third-party fundraising efforts or our own fundraising efforts. With respect to the loan or the debenture, is that 5.2% a fixed rate for that term, or is that a variable?
That would be a fixed rate. That's what the rate was at the time of writing this report, but when we go through the process through the loan, they set the rate at a particular date. And the timeline we have right now, so whatever the rate would be, is closer around to October 25th date. Based on IO, but that rate you're locked in for that 25 years. Whatever that rate ends up being.
Okay, I'm supportive of the recommendation within the report, and I think I'm glad you brought up the annual repayment limit, because I think that is an important factor, especially with the wastewater treatment plant expansion. We're going to need all the money we can get for that one.
Great, thank you for that. Any other comments or questions from council? And this, I don't know, this may not make any sense. Just on the process of going through and getting the loan at this juncture, the Arena Community Center project is essentially completed. However, there are still some outstanding issues. So at what point, and I know that we have held back. And so doing that, we can still proceed to essentially enter into this from a infrastructure Ontario, Canada standpoint. They consider the project, even though there are outstanding issues, they consider the project finished enough that we can go ahead with this at this step.
So in our initial loan documents, when we did the initial financing, so the timeline for it to enter in the debenture has to be 120 days after substantial completion. So we reached substantial completion on June 30th. We also used that date when we did our final report, to base our final reporting onto the ISIP grants, which were due 60 days after that date. So we're kind of at the end of that timeline. So I was waiting to see if we had more costs, how that was going with significant, if there's any more significant. I've kind of seen, well, there should be just minor, looked at what's outstanding still to finish the job with the contract that we haven't paid yet. And I took those numbers into consideration when I came to that $9.7 million amount, including some signage and things like that that are still to be completed. That's within my numbers. So unless there's other things, but in discussion with staff, it didn't seem there was something going to be significant that would really hinder us not being able to use our reserve and not have to go ask for another loan, was my understanding. So
Nope. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Any other comments or questions? So you do have a recommended motion in front of you, and that is so to receive the information. Now, the recommendation in Catherine's report is to potentially commit to more than the 1.5 that we originally committed to. And we would need wording in that motion to reflect that, I believe, right? Because we've committed to 1.5 and you're recommending that we commit to 1.8, give or take what those numbers flesh out like.
correct, to increase to cover any overages and the fundraising shortfalls. that we are still in process. I don't have a final number, but if it's around 1.8, unless you're gonna say 1.8, but
yeah.
it might be a little bit less, might be a little bit
Okay.
more.
So I would look to council to make the motion that you want, since we've had a couple of different ideas in the discussion put on the floor. So I would look to council to make a recommendation. Councillor Hodgins.
I would move the motion to use approximately 1.8 million from reserves versus the 1.5 million originally committed as detailed within the report.
Okay, and to receive that report for information. Can I get a seconder for that one? Councillor Regan. Is there further discussion on that? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, and your final report.
One report.
This has got to be a record, Catherine.
I know, I save it all up. I know. I know all the attention, I don't like it, but here we are. So this is, my report is, so in lieu of, again, this is our new one, instead of doing verbal, I would just have said this out loud, but to have it in writing is, so in September is a heavy conference month for the treasurers and staff. So all three from the treasury got to attend a conference this year, and there was a lot of good sessions and knowledge taken back from that those sessions, and also a lot of good valuable networking opportunities. We got to speak with peers, either one-on-one, locally, across the province, and those are just as valuable as attending sessions about asset management and budgets and stuff like that. So we appreciate the opportunity to attend those conferences. Just a note that our water and sewer billings, they went out the end of September, and the due date is October 16th. And our auditors are coming at the end of October to do their interim audit. I can't believe it's that time already.
I know. Already, my goodness. All right, thank you for that, Catherine. Any questions on that report? Okay, with that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive Catherine's report, activity report for information. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we have no planning. So Jeff, Public Works.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I have 3 reports and also an activity report. The 3 reports are similar in that they are looking at our some of our tenders that we issued late summer and early into September. And the first one is for a 4x4 half-ton pickup truck. It is to replace the current flower truck. It's a 2013 pickup truck. We got 2 bids. We did send out 4 invites to the to bid to Ford, GM, Chrysler, and Toyota. The 2 bids came in from GM and Chrysler. The Ford did contact us and say that they just didn't have product to bid. So I appreciated that. One of the notes in, as we were reviewing the quotes that did come in, the changes that have taken place due to, I guess, supply. There is no, at this point right now, there is no municipal rebates that we're used to in pickup trucks. So that was very interesting when we received that. It wasn't a surprise because when I did reach out to the dealerships in midsummer, or I guess even before that in the springtime, they had all said that be careful. Those rebates are not there. So as we reviewed the quotes, they came in very close. With the GMC, the 2024 GMC coming in at $58,406 plus HST, and the Chrysler coming in at $58,579 plus HST. We staff, as myself, I am recommending that we go with low bid. I don't, we both use a Chrysler and a GMC product in the department, so they're both capable vehicles. We did look at what was excluded from the quotes. And one of the items that we were really looking for was that was missing from the Chrysler was the 110 power inverter in the box. So that we had access to power on a job site. So so in that report, I would also say that we did budget 62,000 in the cap for the capital purchase. So we are below budget. And I would add that, and this will be an add to all these reports, that the truck that we now have will go up for auction, and that money will be used to be put back into the reserve fund for equipment purchases. So even though we did budget and we are under budget, we will also have the funds from the sale of the used vehicle to go back into the reserve fund. So I will stop at that one for that one.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Manders.
Are you putting it on that municipal auction site or what's it called? Gov deals. No.
Yeah, and through the mayor, yeah, I think this is a really good example of using that.
Yeah.
Particularly when we talk about the utility truck, because I think there's a real value still across the province for some used vehicles. So yeah, no, we are planning on using Gov deals.
Did you see what a trade-in would be, just so you'd know, or no?
No, at this point, the trading in a used vehicle with so many kilometers and such shape, a lot of the dealerships aren't interested in it.
Gotcha, okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? This might be more of a discussion to have at budget, but I know we've kind of talked about it in the background. And now, especially when you say that there's not those municipal rebates, has there been any thought about leasing vehicles?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, good question. And I'll lead into that also too. I did reach out to Canoe, is a supplier for purchasing a lot of items, including graders and heavy equipment. I did ask about pickup trucks, and that's the one item, or I should call non-commercial vehicles. They actually, the Canoe representative said that is the one thing they could not nail down to put in the program. So having said that, I have had a conversation with Ron about this because I think there's an opportunity here, to get these vehicles turned over so we're not paying so much mechanical and repair charges over the lifespan, and yet taking advantage of the resale value before it becomes to a point where it's not worth, as the deputy mayor asked about trading in. We still have a value there that is worth something. So it is something to look at, and we have been talking about it.
Thanks for that. Any other questions? All right, then you've got a motion in front of you, and I would ask for a mover and a seconder for that one, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan, all in favor? That's carried. And your next one, Jeff.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. And again, this one, it really kind of tags along. Obviously, we asked for quotes on a cabin chassis, which is basically the utility truck that staff drives. It's not four-wheel drive, but it's a dually. It's a heavy duty. We did gain three quotes. GM, Chrysler, and Ford did send back quotes. They were all very similar in their quotes. So again, we didn't have a preference in the operation side of things. So the GM came in at low bid at 58,000. No, I'm sorry. Chrysler came in at low bid at 58,400 or 642 plus HST. GMC came in next at 58,928,000 plus HST, and then Ford was the third at 62,661 plus HST. Again, I think that is all three bids are extremely close when it comes to something like this. And again, I think my recommendation is to go with the low bid. And when you combine what we're paying for the cabin chassis and we throw in the utility box, we will be under budget. and as I said in the last report, I believe there is a value. We'll put the utility truck up for sale and on gov deals, and we'll be able to get some money for the older one.
Okay, thank you for that. And just on the delivery time.
Yeah, they really don't want to nail down a delivery time at this point, and especially when we were going through a strike. So a lot of them wouldn't give us deadlines, but off the record, they were saying anywhere from 6 to 8 months. So I'm expecting that we won't see any of these vehicles till the spring, if into the early summer.
Okay, thank you for that. Questions on this one? Okay, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder for the recommended motion in front of you. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Regan. All in favor? Carried. Continuing on.
Okay, so then we asked for a quote on a utility box to go on the cabin chassis. We had 3 quotes. We had one from Commander Industries, one from Goldie Innovative Technologies, and one from Wiltsey Truck Bodies. 2 of them use an aluminum body and one uses a fiberglass body. I would just like to point out that the Goldie Innovative Technology is a local company. It is situated over on William Street. And I have had a conversation with the owner, and he did want to try and bid on this. But he came in at a little bit more than the other 2. Commander Industries came in at $29,282 plus HST. Wiltsey Truck Bodies came in at $32,550 plus HST, and Goldie Innovative Technologies came at $41,004 plus HST. The Commander Industry one, which is low bid, is what we have on the truck right now. And when discussing it with staff, they were more than happy with what they had. So I am recommending that we go with the Commander Industry, which is low quote.
Okay, thank you for that background. Any comments on this one? And I would ask for a mover and a seconder for the recommended motion that you've got in front of you, please. Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Regan. All in favor? Carried. Okay, Jeff.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I've also got an activity report to review with council, and I'd like to thank Tina for helping it get organized. So that was good. So I'll start with the road operations and maintenance. Last council meeting, we did have a discussion on extending the sidewalks, and there was a concern brought forward about some liability doing the extension in stages. And council did request that I reach out to our insurance representative for any feedback that they may have. The response I did get was that there was no major concern, and that as long as the township as a council has an approved plan to improve the area with a sidewalk and paved shoulder and street lights, like as we've discussed, and can show that there is either some budget limitation, permits approval, or other items that may slow or delay the completion of the improvements, then having this plan in place should assist in minimizing any risk exposure. So having said that, I believe we have this in place. We have the design, and we've talked about it at council, and I do believe we can move forward with this with limited exposure. During the last council meeting, I'd also like to say that we did talk about some signage and some delineated barriers to assist with the pedestrian safety going out. And at the time, I was a little concerned during winter maintenance I've reviewed that again, and I'd like to come back to council and say that I would recommend that we do some delineating along there. Delineators can be moved for snow removal, or if they get pushed over during a snow removal season, then they can always be re-erected. And I would use the kind that can move at this point. So I think going back, I think delineators would be a good, until we can get some streetlights installed out there. So I maybe stop there just in case, because I know that was an important one for council before I go any further, in case anybody has any questions on that one.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Hodgins?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just thanks for following up so quickly on this. And I just wanted to reconfirm that last meeting we concluded that we were going to move forward pending this. So just wanted to confirm that we are now moving forward with the option that we discussed last meeting. Okay. I see nods, so yes. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, continue.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Another update on the road side of things that I'd just like to bring council up to date, that we did on the, we did have a failed asphalt test on the Main Street Westdale project that is going on. I think everybody's wondering why there isn't a second coat of pavement in place. Basically, I don't want to get into too much, but there was the project administrator did not follow the OPS S310 and did not contact the township in a timely manner. So we are redoing the testing and following the proper procedure. It was very important when we started this project in our pre-construction meeting that it was explained to everybody that this was a provincial highway and that the specifications, particularly OPS S310, needed to be followed. And that's the way we were going to basically review the paving portion of that project. So my hope, and I've said this right from the get-go, the testing is being redone as we speak this week. I really hope it passes. I'm not retesting because I think it'll fail. It's just the proper procedures were not followed, and we have to ensure that everything is in place as it should be. Having said that, the project has been delayed. They were hoping to have pavement down prior to this week. Obviously, that's not going on right now. So until we get that testing done. I'd also like to say that just in the background, I know maybe this isn't in everybody's out in front, but we are working on Water Street engineering for next year or for the budget time so that we can talk about it. So that's still on track to finish up this fall. We are also, as staff, we're working on our winter maintenance program, which we need to have in place by late October. And as well, I was contacted by Middlesex Center. They are screening winter sand from their sand pit, and they offered the sand at $9.50 per ton. Our local price was $11.50. So I did, and staff did commit to purchasing 500 ton, which should be enough sand to replenish our sand supply for the shed this year. Wastewater and water and wastewater. BM Ross is entering the final design stage of the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. And again, this is a good update for council. And I'm expecting more information coming to council in late fall once they finish that design. The upgraded pumps at the Granton Sanitary Pumping Station are now presently at the Public Workshop. And we've been in touch with the installer, which we are hoping to have going in late October. So that project is moving along. In the other category, I have a couple of things. One of them is the flower program for 2023 will end. I have in the report next week, but it's actually this week. I believe it was a success. I think Carrie and Marty did an excellent job. The reason why I bring this up now is that we were contacted by our flower supplier and that they would like to put in their order for 2024 in the fall. So that say this to council because I know budgets will not be completed prior to the requirement of putting in that order. I bring this forward because the supplier has said that there will be no cost increase this year. There was a significant increase last year, so I thought that was good news. And that was the reason why I thought it would be reasonable to bring this to council today and see what council's feeling was on continuing the flower program at the same cost. Now, I would point out that doesn't include Carrie and Marty or some of the other outside costs that may come into effect. And I would point out that in 2023, the flower cost was $7,661. So I'll leave that for council's as information to see what they think. Dillon Consulting has finished our building assessments for the township's AMP. The arena is the only outstanding structure that needs to be done, and we didn't do it this year because of the renovation. We didn't want to do an inspection on a building that was just in the process of being built. So we'll go back in the spring and reevaluate the entire complex, community centers, the new portion, and the ice surface itself. And we'll have to do an assessment on it. This is a requirement to be completed for the asset management plan by mid-2024. As well as this is connected, I have been in touch with Dillon Consulting, as we will have to start a review of township service levels. And this is also a requirement to be completed by 2024 in the township's asset management plan. And the interesting thing about this is that the idea behind service levels is to take in public and not just council's opinion, staff opinion, but public opinion too. So as we just got finished talking about a survey on the budget, I'm sure there will be a survey that will follow on service levels and what people think of what the township is supplying and what they would like to see the township move forward in the future. So I just like to get that in the back of council's mind that that's coming soon.
Okay, thank you for that, Jeff. A lot going on in your department. Any questions or comments on Jeff's report? Councillor Hodgins.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I agree, a lot going on. Must be busy, Jeff. With respect to the Main Street asphalt issue, I just wanted to confirm for this, who is the project administrator?
So the project administrator is actually Westdale themselves. They coordinate it with a company called BRL, which works with Westdale, and they coordinate it. So again, unlike maybe a public project that we would have taken on, we would have hired an engineering consultant to be our project manager. They chose themselves to be the manager of the project. SBM, who was an engineering firm on site, they were only hired to do checkup and to do shots and grades and that sort of thing to ensure that design was being met.
Okay, thank you. And just shifting the very last item about the service levels and the asset management. I just wanted to confirm whether those service levels, is that to be set by council, or are we to like endorse the service levels being proposed? Or what's the next steps with that one?
No, that's an excellent question. Service levels, what we'll look at is, how often or how do we clean our roads? How do we do our sidewalks? What kind of, garbage pickup do we have? Recycling, green programs, everything we do in the municipality now will be considered a service level. So then we'll review whether we are at a level that is appropriate for our municipality. Is it what council is interested in? And is there other items that we need to improve on or to increase? And it comes back to this is it comes back into the asset management plan that, for instance, and I guess sidewalks would be a great example of this, is we have a certain service level built in on sidewalk maintenance. And if we were to have a failure of our equipment or a failure in the service level, what reflection on how would that make everybody feel? Basically, would we be out of regulation? Would we be just below our standard level of care? It all starts to relate back in. So this is not talking about bringing in new levels of service. It's about looking at the service levels we have now and making sure that everybody's comfortable saying this is what we do.
Thanks for that information. Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Hodgins. All in favor? And that is carried. Sorry. Okay, moving on, Parks and Recreation. Paul.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. The first report in front of council this evening is in regards to our summer programming update. As we know, there hasn't been consistent data since 2020 to review. And it's our intention to have a report similar to this coming to council on an annual basis to keep track of how our summer programs are doing. The largest expense for both the camps and the pools obviously were wages. And this is noted that the township does offer a competitive price, especially to attract lifeguards, as well as the increases to the minimum wage over the past few years. We did also increase some of our staff hours to add additional programming as requested by the community. And we're hoping to build on those programs in the following years. So over the course of the summer, we saw 1,949 people attend the public swims at the pool. This includes family passes as well as individual swimmers. And not included in that is the 538 campers who attended the pool this season on a daily basis. And although the pool does still operate at a loss, we do feel that is a contributing factor to why our summer camps are so successful. So the two should almost be looked at in a holistic fashion. We did also, as we said, we added Aquafit and Lane Swim. They were quite popular this season. We had 60 participants in the month of August, and this will be intended to start at the beginning of the season next year. We did have some private rentals, and some of those were a direct result of the fact that we added accessibility to our pool. And we have to note that there were some support homes in the Lucan Biddulph area that actually purchased pool passes this season due to the upgrades that we added to the pool. We did note that there is lower chemical and maintenance costs to the pool. However, the furnace for the pool heater was required some maintenance to keep going throughout the season, and it was one of the common comments we did receive from the public as to why people attend our pool and why they enjoy our pool. So it was a much needed investment to keep the season successful. We do feel in the capital budget this year that we will be discussing replacement, as it has been noted by the heating and cooling contractor that it should be it's overdue for investment.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Paul. A successful season spent at the Arena and Community Center, that's for sure. Questions or comments on this report? Deputy Mayor Manners.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a good report. I guess for simplicity's sake, it looks like if the campers were potentially coming out, like it was great to see the budget and revenue to have that much more revenue and not have the expense. The spread between obviously the two is roughly $10,000. So it wouldn't take, if you had the same amount of campers, I mean, if you're even increase that by $20 would be a lot. And we're, like we say, we don't necessarily run it to be a profit center, but even to break even or be a bit, it's great to see that. It wouldn't take much to make it a neutral, as opposed to that big of expense of 20,000 or 10,000. Yeah, but very good report.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, with that, I will say to everybody that, the staff that you hired this summer, thank you very much. Obviously, the camp is a huge success and is certainly being used by our community. So congratulations to Abby and her team, and then to the lifeguards for making the pool and adapting. I mean, and listening to the community when you heard that they wanted laps and aquafit. So thank you for listening to that. Yeah.
Just one more note that's not included in this report. We have discussed internally from a staff perspective, potentially increasing the pool season next year due to the changing weather. We've noticed, as you see, it's been 27 degrees all this week and we're in October. So if we're able, and our biggest difficulty with staffing is a lot of our lifeguards go back to university, go to college, and they don't have time. So it's not a guarantee, but it is something that we are looking into for the 2024 season.
Okay, great. Good to know. If there's no other comments, and I'd ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Hodgins, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, and continue on, Paul.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. The next report, well, the memo in front of council is in regard to the multipurpose court at the Spencer Park. Since the installation of the park, we have received many positive comments regarding the courts and how they look and their usage, specifically, moving the basketball games off the street and into the park. People are quite happy about, that safety there, and they're quite happy with the park. Signage reflecting the rules and the schedule have been posted. To note, once again, I'll reiterate, it's at the moment, it is tennis Sundays till Tuesday and then pickleball the rest of the week. However, we have received some comments to re-look at this, and we will be proceeding with more surveys to make sure we're meeting the community needs and our service level for that. As well, we have received a few safety concerns and complaints regarding the spacing between the back of the pickleball courts and the fencing. And we've met with the pickleball players as well as the constructor to see if we can come up with a solution to this and address the concerns. And there will be a report coming forward to council for a solution on that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. Questions or comments on this report? Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my question is just for Paul, just on the pickleball court, because I've received some concerns as well about the functionality of it. And I'm just wondering, and I guess I know there's a report coming, but I'm just wondering if there's any specific information you can give me on how we sort of got to that position where there is a functionality issue with it. And having been on PRAC and been in those discussions early on, sort of specifically what's being done now, and what we might do to remedy this as soon as possible.
Yeah, so at the moment, the courts were constructed within regulations based on the sports court contractors. And there's things that need to be addressed that are, complaints from use that have come up, and we're actively meeting with pickleball players and the constructors to address those concerns, because we want the community to be involved. Because if we are going to invest in an improvement to address these issues, we want to make sure that we're going to do it right and the community is fully involved.
Okay, so if I may, and I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm not sure how we got there in the first place. Like I just don't like. I mean, I'm looking at the drawing, and I know those were discussions, but I'm not sure how we got to that point in the first place, where there actually is an issue. I'm just confused about that.
So when we do these projects, we rely on the expertise of the experts. We hired them to build a court within our budget, and they did so, and they met all the requirements of the sports courts. They've addressed that there is no actual standard to apron areas around the courts, but that seems to be where the issue has come up. So knowing that there's an issue and a concern, we feel it's appropriate that we should get the community involved and hear their issues and see if we can address them.
All right, great. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Paul.
Deputy Mayor Manders.
Well, I guess yeah, you're catching a little bit off guard with it, that there's an issue and concerns of. If there's concerns, would we just not learn from it and future pickleball courts will be then changed? I just don't know why we don't just, those that are concerned, you're stating to us, you state to them, and then if knowing that, then just future pickleball courts and Lucan Biddulph will be bigger. So to me, I mean, if it was not done wrong, it was done to there was no spec and it was, I mean, as Paul just stated, then why are we, I mean, I don't understand just doing this, potential knee jerk, tearing down the fences, expanding it on all of a sudden, if this, like from what I just heard, I mean,
Well-
to me, future courts, and we look at making them bigger.
I do think that tonight's not the night to debate that. I think Paul's going to bring a report back with options. One of the options might be what you say. We've learned from this, the next one we build, the apron will be bigger. There could be another option in front of us. But I don't think tonight's the night to be making that decision because we don't have all of that in front of us. That's just my opinion. Council, of course, can go ahead, but I think that's the purpose of the report that you'll be bringing back, right, Paul?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, we feel that it's important to gather all the information to have a proper discussion at the council table. See what our options are, see what the cost may be involved. And knowing budget discussions are coming up, might be the appropriate time.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, with that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information, please. Councillor Regan and Deputy Mayor Manders. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. On to economic development.
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. Tonight before you, we have a report on a recent community data project that we partnered with a company called Environics Analytics. We did it earlier mid-late spring to gather this data that we feel would, obviously help with our planning activities as well as local businesses and their marketing. So originally why it's coming to council now, originally the data was presented to us just in the data form. There was no real context for it or sort of a guide for businesses. So we developed this 3-pager at the beginning of the guide to help the businesses when we do send it out to them, so that it references some key data things for them to look out for and how they could use this tool. So this will be put up on our website as well as circulated to the local businesses to, again, help them with maybe some marketing strategies and any other kind of data that they find interesting throughout this report.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Questions or comments on this information? Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we did review this, the Economic Development Committee did review it. The other day, there was a couple, it was all very positive comments. Lisa did a great job writing this. And that committee just didn't see any additions or admissions to it. So we were moving forward with that. So.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Other comments or questions? Oh, hopefully those in our community that can use this tool will make use of it because there is a lot of information in there. So hopefully our businesses can take advantage of what's in front of them. With that, I'd ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information, please. Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Regan, all in favor, and that's carried. You did not have an activity report, so and nothing else. Okay. Okay, on to councillor comments. Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a very brief one. We were talking a little bit about the flower program and the Public Works activity report, and just an observation from myself. Flowers are beautiful as always. They're flourishing and they're massive. But I did notice, I was walking the other night, on Main Street in Lucan, near the Haskett Funeral Home. And the planter is actually so large at the intersection of Main Street and George Street. I think it may be obstructing sight lines. I was walking in the westerly direction and I couldn't actually see the vehicle and the vehicle couldn't see me. So I'm seeing that as a potential issue. And just with these planters and how big they get, I think we have to be mindful of where they are located and ensure that sight lines aren't obstructed. And there is some other areas, I think, closer to the downtown, where the sidewalks are a little bit tighter in some areas, and the planters are actually sort of obstructing the pedestrian clearway. So maybe if someone was in a scooter or a wheelchair, they may have issues navigating around that. So just some observations I wanted to share. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And I think you don't have any comment at this point, Jeff, but maybe if you provide those details to Jeff, he can take a look at that. That'd be good. Does that work? Okay. Any other sight lines? Any other councillor comments? Just the mayor's breakfast is November 1st, correct? All right, so just making sure that council knows that, because I know that the CEDC and Lisa are putting a lot of work into that. So the mayor's breakfast on November the 1st at 7 a.m. and you can register for that. And then I just wondered, I should have maybe brought this up while we were talking about the budget survey, because one of the comments was about green waste. And I just wondered if we were going to get information back on the survey that was put out about the composting or the countertop composter. I think that rebate program might have expired, but it would still be good information to have maybe for at least budget discussions as we think about that going forward. Okay. And okay, so that's that. There's no changes to budget. Any notices of motion? We do not have the accounts in front of us today, and tonight there's only two bylaws. Bylaw 42-2023 being a bylaw to amend the tax rate bylaw to add the new multi-residential tax rate and to provide for the adoption of estimates and setting the tax rates for 2023. And bylaw 43-2023, the confirming bylaw for tonight's meeting. So the motion in front of us that if no one cares to speak to bylaws 42 through 43-2023 inclusive on their first, second, and third reading, that they be considered to have been read a first time and passed, read a second time and passed, and read a third time and passed. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan, all in favor. And that's carried. And a motion to adjourn at 7:51 p.m. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Regan, all in favor? And that's